This meeting is now being recorded.
Yeah, hello everybody to this new XStepCafe session number 38. Although the session 37 was going on, but not really with external involvement, so we just didn't record it. So therefore, it's more 37, but no, the number is 38 then for the recording. And okay, we've got some guests here. Fortunately, not all participants are coming from the US, it seems, because it's July 4th, so they will have some celebrations, I think. Right, so I have nothing prepared, but I think Uwe has something prepared, so maybe, since Vic is also on the phone and Uwe has prepared something for Vic, maybe it's the best thing I can just hand it over to Uwe, or what do you think, Uwe? Are you ready?
Okay, Arne, I'm ready.
Okay.
Hello. If you got some background noises, I'm staying at home because I got a, let's say, damaged knee, and it took some time to fix it. And yeah, but I took the chance also to participate in the XStepCafe. So Arne, just trying to. I just want to share my computer screen. Just let me know. Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Now you should. Hello. Who joined?
It's me, Basker Münz. Hi.
That's great. Hi, great. Okay. First of all, something completely different concerning, let's say, XStep. First, want to point out to some related stuff. Arne told you also about plant connectivity. Those of you who have been in contact with SAP MRI know that let's say sub-plant connectivity called PICO, they're used to connect MRI to external data sources of various flavors. Within let's say the latest release of sub-plant connectivity, as well with the latest enhancement package, well, we took the chance to use sub-plant connectivity also as a connector for upper-based application in the subspace with external data sources, and therefore we wrote let's say interface classes and interface methods in the NetWeaver layer, and also let's say at least the first introduction, the so-called implementation guide. And this implementation guide shows you how to quickly implement plant connectivity together with any ABAP application. And
you show people where to find this page so that
this is quite where also was quite bugging since they you can choose this hyperlink. I will also provide you with links because it's not that easy to find. And I prepared documents which are based on this implementation guide, but show you a little bit more detail. Currently, there are 5 documents, but not 3. The first document gives, let's say, at least basic here's how plant connectivity in combination with SAP applications in the ABAP language environment could be used. And there's one point which is quite important to say is that this combination in PICO with the NetWeaver ABAP layer interfaces is intended for business scenarios where you have the SAP application, especially in the ERP part. Oops, quite minor. So, and where you have the full logic in the ERP application, SAP application, and you use plant connectivity only for exchanging data with the outside world, getting data in, or reacting on events that triggered by the outside world within your by your SAP application. So there's, let's say, no idea to completely replace MRI against this combination, because MRI is also used for business intelligence and also, let's say, contains business logic. This is something that we definitively don't put down to the ABAP interface layer in NetWeaver that we use for connecting the Pico to our SAP applications. So I'm sorry. We have a website called SAP Community Network, which was formerly known as SAP Development Network, and just want to show you the documents. Let's say the first, learn the basics, is also let's say some introduction, which are the business scenarios that are, let's say, preferred for this constellation. Then we have, let's say, a quick start. I can just download Connectivity 2.2, install it, and combine it with a sample application. So just trying to check. So today or perhaps you can have a look at this page. Then the next documents. Okay, you see SAP manufacturing, and hopefully if we drill down to the content part, then we see also the documents. 85 documents.
I suggest I will post the links probably in the blog then.
Would be quite fine, because it's quite tedious to find there. Let's say first thing that we also concentrate was let's say so-called sample queries to OPC DA servers, where we just trigger the query from an ABAP sample report and ask for tag values of a connected OPC DA server, get it back. So the next step is then to react on notifications that are triggered by events from outside. So we have a value change of a tag, on the tag we registered, and as the value changed event was triggered, we send a Pico notification message concerning data to the SAP application, and the SAP application processes the data from the notification. This is, let's say, the next step of complexity. And also, let's say, what might be interesting for you who use Excel spreadsheets or MS Access databases, we have also the possibility to connect those Excel spreadsheets to SAP applications via this plant connectivity ABAP layering concept. And this is also described in, let's say, this document, where we read values from an Excel spreadsheet, and we are also able to write, let's say, triggered from ABAP, from an ABAP application, values to an Excel spreadsheet, which is quite interesting.
You can really see in former sessions I posed Pico to Business Suite a little bit also as a replacement for the old OPC interface, but you can see it here, it's much more. So because you're not only restricted to OPC DA servers as in former interface, you can really also use other data sources here.
So, in brief, that's it. What will follow, what is planned. I'm currently working on, not with the highest priority. Highest priority is to get.
Uwe, you got a lot of views on that one. You see, you've got over 500 there for, just on PolyDB query stuff.
Yeah.
Seems
so
pretty.
But PCO can only be used with MMI, no?
No, this is the big difference with PCO. We call it Pico 2.2. Pico 2.2 Pico comes bundled with MI. So if you buy MI, you get it automatically. If you buy a new license for MI, it also comes bundled with EWM flow system, where it's also used for connecting PLCs to the extended warehouse. And for, let's say, for this release 2.2, we are able to distribute one version as a replacement for the SAP ODA connector. This is free of charge, so you can download it, install it, and get at least the same functionality compared with our SAP OPC Data Access connector ODA. And then we got, let's say, a standalone version of plant connectivity where you can also buy, so it's not free of charge, by a license, and then you can install it on your machine or on your server and do the nice fancy stuff that we do. So it's not necessary to buy MI.
Just to make it clear, it's not different versions of Pico. It's the same Pico, but different licensing models. Uwe was talking here about. Yeah, so before it was bundled only with MI. That's correct. And and if you want to use it just as a replacement for the ODA, then it's free. And if you want to build your own ABAP stuff with connectivity, then you have to pay a small license, I think.
Okay. And
there's some articles on my blog, and please check them out. You can there are some presentations, and also we did do some sessions also on the last recordings, so you could check that also out.
Mm-hmm. And do you have OPC UA on PCO?
Yes.
Okay, which we don't have in normal SAP. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's also quite important to know, if you download our plant connectivity version 2.2, you can install it and it runs in test mode with, let's say, complete functionality for about 30 minutes, and then it stops until you add let's say, a valid productive license. So there was also the idea that you can install it, test around a little bit, and try to figure out if it works for your scenarios or not, which was quite nice. Some partners came into our EWM testing, and we talked about also Pico 2.2, and they were quite interesting in implementing it, and they joined our testing. They implemented, let's say, in quite easy, let's say, not primitive or easy connection of an SAP application to a weighing system. Within, let's say, I don't think that they need more than half a day for it. So for the
there are also partners. Sorry.
Yeah.
There are also partners out there which aim to really build some sort of low level or simple ABAP-based MES also with this functionality. Sorry, Uwe, continue.
Oh, okay. I just stopped talking. Was impressed. Okay, so this is all what I want to talk about Pico. You saw that it was not that easy to find the documents. So about 500 people have been the lucky ones or the unlucky ones after they read the documents to find it. And Arne and me, we will provide with the links. I also talked to the folks of the SCN if we could have, let's say, separate subspaces also for TPPI or for at least for the Pico ABAP integration stuff, because I expect that we'll have quite more traffic on this. But
I tried that in the former days when it still was called SDN, and they said to me that they have had so many forums, and so they didn't want to add new ones. But you can try. Maybe you got more luck.
Yeah. So they at least expect that there will be blocks and traffic ongoing. So I think we got some let's say communication via SCN for PPPI, but it seems not to be that big. So we can So they are, in the opinion, that we get a subspace. But I'll try to ask for it, at least for the PPPI stuff, so we can also get an additional channel for the XStepCafe. So that's it for plant connectivity.
Just one question.
Yeah.
But is it what will be the benefit to move from SAP ODA to SAP PCO?
It's also mentioned in the former sessions, but I can briefly point it out to you. SAP ODA comes with a small connector, which is I think a C++ program, which was delivered by SAP, but it's not maintained anymore. And also the documentation states that it runs on, I think, Windows 95, 98, Windows NT stuff, period. So and we got questions from customers asking, what about the new operating systems? So since we did not want to continue this development on this proprietary format, we didn't want to come up with some additional tests to make sure that this runs on other operating systems. And since we were on the Pico development anyway, and that was also doing the connectivity with OPC and even more, we found that there's a good opportunity to merge this together, you know. So you will have this instead. The ODA connector probably will still work, but there's no liability on the operating system side.
Okay.
Yep. Right. So shall we move over to Vic's problem, Uwe, or?
Yeah,
okay.
we can please talk about it. So, sorry, I have some difficulties with my network connection.
I think, yeah, maybe it's also because you have the link stuff also running, also additionally.
Quite bad times.
Mm.
Okay. So, Link, Vic, you're here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, great. So we had let's say at least some email exchange together, because Vic is, I don't think Vic is the only one, but Vic is one of those guys who's quite very interested in let's say doing XStep functionality more on the ABAP side, which is quite not that easy. And no. And there were some challenges where we had a short discussion, and perhaps it would also be good for those of you in the XStepCafe, or those of you that are interested in at least more the programming stuff, to exchange knowledge here. So I know, yes.
Maybe we let Vic tell the audience what this is about, what he tried, and what the problems were. Vic? Okay.
This is a good question.
Well, up to now, I've been able to create, copy, clone XStep, and I have been able to send a control recipe, but it's a hell. I had to do it manually. I have to work through test and error, and I am not sure if my coding is fine. I mean,
what kind of coding did you want to do? So what kind of special things did you want to achieve? Maybe starting with that.
¿Qué quieres conseguir con el código?
Well, our process orders have some complexity than the standard steps doesn't allow us to do, like clone nodes from receivers, change, add XSteps, and things like that.
Mm. So So you want to choose an existing XStep tree and make some modifications on that with ABAP coding. Is that what you want?
Yeah. For example,
Okay.
a copy. Yeah.
Okay.
A copy paste from.
Okay, so just as a spoiler for the rest, and also somebody who listens and looks to this later. So this is really advanced stuff, which we will now discuss. So there's no need to do all this, probably for other people, other customers. But sometimes you might want to do this, so that's why we do this now. So just as a warning. Okay, continue.
No, basically, I'm not sure if I am working using the right objects or the right methods. Then it's hard to be sure my programs will not crash anything.
Okay.
I will love to have any place with any kind of documentation to ensure my work.
Okay, Uwe, maybe that's a good point to start with.
Yeah. So just going to share also my screen. Let's say one principal point concerning the initial idea of, let's say, when XSteps were created, I think at least 10 years, or the idea was born at least 12 years ago, was to the main production instructions and characteristics in master recipes and process orders, and to get it, let's say, in a more modern style with an editor you've already seen and worked with, and also to provide a flexible way for valuation symbols and generation scopes. And the idea was also to do this in a manner that you can, as a customer, can implement and extend the valuation symbols and generation scopes with the help of body methods implementation. Of course, for doing so, you need at least a little knowledge of ABAP coding. But also let's say, one principle was that we did not thought about really creating or XStep nodes on the fly outside of the applications that implement the XSteps, like process orders, master recipes, and so on and so forth. Perhaps you've seen also the white papers and the demos that Anne and we did a couple of years ago, where we described a way to create a rework XStep. So here the idea was, and it was quite an experiment, but did not fail. We have, let's say, PI sheet. You're working with the PI sheet, and then you come to a point where you, in advance, you know that you get into difficulties, and then you have to trigger something. And then we thought it might be a good idea to let's say, create a new PI sheet based on XSteps in case this scenario occurs. So you have to rework something, and therefore we needed methods, let's say, coding to create those XStep trees in the ABAP environment, like we described. I hope you can see it. I'm just in the package CMX _2, where you find some function modules. And I also just want to point out one function module where we exactly, let's say, create an XStep tree from scratch. There's something where you have to be aware of. The XStep editor and the XStep functionality is embedded in the applications, like process production orders, standard routings, and master recipes. This means if you, let's say, activate XSteps for your applications, you go into one recipe or one standard routing and maintain XSteps. You have a lot of, say, checks and additional features and functions of your other application that provides you, let's say, that prevents you from doing something where I think Vic also struggled was, if we have a look at if you work if you are in production or process orders, then and we call the edit, normally all the internal buffer tables with operation data and order header data are filled. So if you want to do something with XStep outside of an order application, you have to make sure to make sure that you fill those buffer tables or call the function modules that fill those buffer tables. This is something where you need a little bit more knowledge than you require for compared with creating other coding for generation scopes. But it's if you know which function module you call, then it's quite not that difficult. But as Vic already said, it's not obvious for you about other coding, which objects and which methods are available and have to be called to, let's say, at least change a controller SAP nation or change a context, which is quite not that easy. In the next couple of minutes, I can briefly introduce you, based on this example, where are the, let's say, the classes and the methods you can use for manipulating XStep stuff. And of course, as we were and we are quite good programmers, we didn't want to offer, let's say, every possibility that the XStep runtime environment provides to the outside world, because there is quite a danger if you don't do something really right, that you corrupt your system or corrupt at least the XSteps, and this is not something that we don't plan. Okay, it can also be that for things you want to do about coding that you don't find the proper method, then either you get a workaround or you still can't execute this stuff. Okay, what you see here, if you have, say, look at the line 64 to 66, you see we have global classes. So we have classes like CL, CMX, XSE. XSE stands for XStep Editor system, where you have objects like manager objects that you need if you want to do something UI-like. This means trigger any actions or doing similar stuff. Then you need the manager. Then we have the factory method. This is also the class CL, CMX, XS. XS is, let's say, the runtime class for XSteps. And also an object which is called utility, which provides with additional methods you need. And here it's also clear that are completely programmed in using ABAP OO. We have a part of function modules that we use, but we have the combination of SE24 classes, so global classes like CL, CMX, XSE system, and we have also the local classes that might be familiar for those of you who have looked at the packages CPC, CMX, or COCR CMX, by the coding for XStep integration into manufacturing orders is located. Okay. Let's say the next part is not a part that's XStep related. It's just loading the order buffer table, because I want to do something where I need at least order data. And here also I have to provide an order number, preferably if you call this function module, there's a wrapper function module around. For those of you who are familiar, if you use dynamic function calls, browser-based PI sheet. You have to avoid that your dynamic function module that you call triggers directly commit work, or because then the system will abort, let's say, processing. So you also have to use a wrapper function module that you call via RFC, and inside this wrapper function module call then the function module that really contains the programming logic like it's stated here. Okay, this is also basics, and most of you might have run into this issue or let's see, aware of it. Okay, I will just briefly skip those things where you have, let's say, the logging, the message processing. Here we use the application logs, and we also have functionality provided that you can also create an application log for extra processing on the fly. You see also the next part is quite filling other order buffer tables. BT is also, let's say, one layer in the process order coding where we have buffering in, and also you see the various order tab read function modules. And after stopping this cascade, we have all the order tables filled that we need. And imagine we are not logged in a process order on a production order if we execute this function module. We execute this module triggered by a browser-based PI sheet or electronic work instruction. This means we are outside of any application that implemented XSteps. Okay. First thing, which is quite not that complex, I've seen every XStep tree requires a root, as every biological tree requires a root. In opposite to Mother Nature, our XStep root nodes are at the top of the hierarchy, and we now create the text. This means we tell the XStep tree or the root node to which it belongs to. So this is quite important. Otherwise, XStep tree would not know if it belongs to a master recipe, to a standard XStep, or to a production order. And for the root context, we have the context structure for order root nodes, which is the order number, and I think it's a position counter of PL. And the next thing that you must do is you have to create an instance of the context. Please remember, we are completely object-oriented. So for creating objects, you have this object instance, this factory object instance, factory class. We create instance in line 64. And this is also something, if you want to create new object of the step hierarchy, if you want to create a new step node, if you want to create process instruction node or similar stuff, then you need this factory class. Just execute the method and get the instance back. And what is quite important, we have to transfer the application. Application here is meant as this is the application that uses XStep, and every application that wants to use XStep has to register. For you, the customer side, you don't see anything on registration. There's a transaction where, let's say, SAP internal, these applications like production order, process order, have to register and have also to define the data structures, the dictionary structures for routing for root context, node context, and also for the XML-based change there. I can show you this later on if you get time. Okay, which is important to know the category. If we want to create context for a root node, that we have to use also this constant, which is located in an interface. IF CMX XS context, now category root, And let's say the last thing that we have to transfer is the data, and the data is exactly the context. So first we got the root context object, and now we got, let's say, attention. We created our first root node outside of the let's say implementing XStep applications, and we here also in pattern we use the factory instance, call a method to create a root node, have to transfer the application. So here we just would say we simulate that we are in the process order environment and say, okay, here it's the same thing you would manually do if you go into the process order, click on the ice cube, open the XStep editor, and press the button, create a root node. So these are the same steps. Okay. We have to transfer the application, and we have to also transfer the root context object. But then we got an XStep root node, and also signed to the process order, but it's not persisted, so it's not on the database. The next thing that we want to do, here we have the NID, it's the node ID. Those of you who are not that familiar, we have perhaps have NID and OID. Node ID is the GUID, a global unique identifier for any XStep object that's persisted on the database. And we have objects like process orders, where if you do, let's say, call your process order coding or process order object in future and do some changes on the operation description, then these changes are also reflected to a process or to the same process order when you start process maintenance with a key date today. So we have a so-called non-historical object. To distinguish, let's say, different versions of historical objects like that trees that belong to master recipes that use change numbers, so on and so forth. And we have those object IDs. So every version creates that you create a new version for historical XStep trees. Then you get new object ID, but they belong to the same node ID. And some relations between XStep objects are based on node IDs. Okay. What I just want to do here is also using a method for our XStep pre-root object, which sets the short text. This is the only thing that I do here. And then there's something which is also important for object without versions like process or production or and also XStep trees for standard XSteps. We require so-called change object, but change order is quite not a good description. Change objects, and here we execute the factory method for get a change object which is non-historic. And non-historic exactly means that we don't have different versions for each object. If you would create your XStep tree root node for master recipes or standard routing, then you have to make sure that you create a change object which is historical, one, and then you would use a factory method that creates a change object hist. I think this is create change object hist. Okay, now we got this change object, and then thing I want to do. I don't want to clone the controller of the control instruction destination. I would just create one from scratch. And here I just to provide at least information for destination key. So we have the namespace as a field namespace. We have the destination type. It's PI sheet, browser or electronic work instruction. We require the let's see, the location, the plant, also a name. This should be at least one name of control recipe destination that you created before in customizing. And the next thing that you see is also the same pattern. We have to create a control recipe destination object, and this is what we do also with the help of the factory method. But it's also quite good if something goes wrong and a destination name which is not valid, then try to catch the class-based exception, provide a message that you put out, and then stop processing. That is always good. Okay. So here we don't do something really different. We just create a new node. And the next step, which is quite important, is that we have to design the destination to the root node, and therefore we also use a method that is available for the at least X3 root node that allows us to set a destination, and here we just transfer also the destination object. And if something really went wrong, which should not be the case, then we also catch this class-based exception. So here we just created an XStep tree root node and assigned a control recipe destination to it. Also, something which is quite easy concerning maintenance. If you assign, so you don't have to assign control recipe destinations to each XStep you create in the XStep tree. Most of you already use that, so they define control recipe destination either on the XStep tree root node, or they define it at the XStep node that's, let's say, the head of the branch, that where you want to create a separate PI sheet out of it. This means that the control recipe destinations are inherited from the root node or from the XStep node that sits at the beginning of the branch down to the child nodes. You have to care for this. So defined once. Next thing that we did is that we want to use or create a reference to a standard XStep we defined in the repository. And here also our utility object provides us a method to browse repository items. And here we also have to provide some data that can be executed. And then, as far as I got, I think the browsing pop-up opens, and you can choose standard XStep and create a reference node, which is then linked to the standard XStep. Okay. Here says some hard-coded data concerning our standard XStep repository. Namespace is SAP, and XSV stands for an XStep that are versions. So we have heard about also creating other kinds of XStep repositories that allow usage of change numbers. Some of you might have heard about this. And but let's say the first until today, the only version is for the XStep repository is that we use versioned SXS. They have validity from, validity to date, and no possibility to use change numbers or change orders. Okay. Here we got the results from our browsing action. So at least we choose one node. And I think the browser is also that we have a mode here. Graph means LC F4 thing that we only accept that one entry in that XStep repository that pops up is marked and taken over. Therefore, we just read the first entry. Okay, and then we also need some additional information about our repository item, and here also we use our utility class instance for getting it. Exceptions, if you find some. And here also, the next thing we want to do is we want to create an SXS reference object that we want to link to our root node as a child. So the root node object will be the parent. And here we just use the factory method. It's the short text. And also the context. And here is quite important to know. Here we want to, or we provide the possibility that you can at least assign objects of a distinct operation. But you can also create at least assign generation scope within order to, let's say, create an object that for the scope and assign it to the SXS, to the node step ref, to the SXS reference node. Here we just assign a distinct operation or phase number. Next step is also the context node for our SXS reference node has to be created, so we know, okay, what's assigned to phase 20. And then context has to be set to the parent. The parent here means is the SXS reference object that we recently created. And now here's the step where we set the reference node to its parent, to the root node. So the SXS reference node is quite a level down below the SXS.
Uwe, still there?
Yeah, just got a short, let's say, bias in the network. But so, which part?
I think Uwe, you're on the ISDN line, so it's you have to cram in all your phone data and all the other data. Yeah. So
okay. Hope that you at least get most of the things. So we'll just, if it's okay, we'll just continue.
Yeah.
So you can use the recording, which is quite good, and go then step by step, because I think that I might overload you with the information. Just focusing on the basic steps. All objects that we created were objects that only exist in, let's say, in our ABAP memory, and now we have to bring them, or let's say at least tell the XStep runtime that the changes should be stored on the database. And therefore we require this change orders, this change object, and the change object now use the XStep3 root node object that we have and say, okay, make it persistent. And persistent means if we trigger save command, then the complete XStep3 and the XStep3 data that is assigned to the XStep3 root object with all its child nodes as XSteps, SXS reference nodes, then will be stored on database. This is quite a very important step. If you forget this, then you might build your XStep tree in ABAP, but you don't find anything on the corresponding database tables for XSteps after you stopped running your ABAP coding. Okay. So the next things are quite not that easy if you don't know it. The things that we did so far is we just create any objects and tell the XStep runtime, okay, save it on the database. The next thing that we have to do is we have to, as far as we are not also working in the XStep editor, we have also to simulate that we are working in the XStep editor that allows us to save all the changes that we did. And for this purpose, the next lines of coding are created. So we create a manager object instance of the XStep editor. We have to unlock the root, otherwise we are not able to execute the changes that we will do in a couple of seconds. Then we create an object that is, let's say, has the same purpose like the XStep editor, which is embedded in the process order. And what we also do here in this function model is that we want to create control recipe, a control instruction for testing. Maybe it's quite easy. You have just pick up the XStep tree root node object and execute the test method. Provide the application name and the order category. Down. If you want to create a productive control recipe or control instruction, then you have to call the execute method. And then let's say the tough part comes in. This is just save the changes. This means we have to trigger commit work statement. And as far as the commit work is executed, the XStep runtime also checks if any XStep object data has to be posted. And if we use the make persistent method before, then the posting tables are filled with the object data and then brought to the database as far as we execute the commit work statement. I think that's it at least. So it's let's say kind of a crash test for doing ABAP implementation. What you also saw here in this function module, what's not part of this functionality is that we don't have any explicit checks for authorizations. This is something, and also these function modules are, as the function group describes, these are templates. So based on your, let's say, requirements to authorization concepts, it would be quite better to copy this function module and add additional authorization checks. There are some authorization checks in XStep methods that are executed, but as far as we here are, let's say, simulating XStep creation in process order outside of the process order framework, then I would strongly recommend also to check if the authorizations actions exist. If you want to, let's say, manipulate XStep trees, let's say you have created an XStep tree, you got an XStep tree, the root node object, and want to exchange control recipe destinations, then you have to check if there are methods in the corresponding factory class or if the library class provides you, let's say, features like that. What's hasn't been part of this is in some cases you have to execute so-called casting statements. This means that XStep tree root node has some methods and attributes that are quite specific for root nodes, but it also inherits interface of let's say general XStep tree node object, and to access some of those methods, you have to create an object instance of this interface and cast the XStep tree root object instance to this let's say XStep node object. So this is also something where we might look at your scenarios. Could be that for some of the things you want to do, you have to undergo such casting activities, which is of course not shown here. So I would just stop at this point.
Sorry?
I would just stop at this point and ask your questions.
No, basically I've been able to do anything I needed, but there is no documentation. I am reaching my goals, but I don't know if the ways I'm using the methods, the object, I extracted from the function model you showed us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I am doing the things properly.
Mm-hmm.
Then basically I need white papers, documentation, and why not a nice place to share knowledgement with other people, development with these objects.
Questions to the colleagues in the cafe. Is it also interesting for you to get deeper or more deeper details about, let's say, at least the ABAP XStep runtime?
Yes, it's interesting.
Yes, of course.
You get all what you get.
If you going to ask such questions, you always get yes, of course.
Yes, I know. I'm just thinking about ways to share at least the knowledge. So most of the knowledge, let's say, it's at least in my head. It's also documented in our specs and design, but not in. If you, let's say, come to practical examples, you also won't find that detailed description in there, which is I know that's quite a tough pain point for everybody who wants to deal with XStep on this level. As I told in the beginning of this session, we hope that we reduced the need to at least create such ABAP coding to a minimum with the help of our implementations. But if you, let's say, come to let's say to situations where you have to do more programming in that way, then of course we can provide you with more information. So concerning this session, I know it's quite tough for those who haven't been in ABAP 1 in XStep involved so far. Was it okay, or should we start at least one let's say one level higher?
I would appreciate if we would also have some sessions which are not so technical, to be honest.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but
at least from
I
time
mean,
to time.
yeah, you never know what really is needed. Yeah, so in this case, Vic was really desperate, and so we wanted to help him out. And
No, it's fine for me.
some need.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that not every session should be like that, to be honest.
Sure. So maybe we should try next time to make some lighter stuff, and then.
So what Arne, what means nicer stuff? Okay, I'm just kidding. So it's fair. At least I think Arne had we had some sessions in the past where we went quite into the details. I think every time when I participate, it's quite a danger that you get too much from a developer from a developer's perspective. But here the XStepCafe, it's up to you. If you say okay, we get enough information, but we want to have let's say high level information about other scenarios, then it's quite fine. We really appreciate that. And also perhaps if you work more with XSteps, you also come into, let's say, conflict with the XStep runtime. Then you can just remember, okay, there was a horrible session. Developer at SAP in the XStepCafe, perhaps it's worth having that recording. Any questions from you that are not related to programming stuff?
Uwe, do you remember we used to have a session where I had a question on this CMX tools FM, where you provided a function module to create steps to do rework. It was one of, let's say, 6 or 7 sessions back. So this, of course, is very interesting, how to apply the specific function modules you provide in the CMX tools FM. So we should have a mixture between the information we had today and perhaps information on, let's say, not so technically. So I don't want to miss this information, but I don't want to have only this information.
Yeah. Okay. Concerning especially those function modules which are introduced with the help of SAP Node, what's still missing, and that is, let's say, something which might also be good, is that they are part of, let's say, the XStep library that we shipped, where they can also see, okay, here I got an XStep and it executes the function module, and also, let's say, of documentation around where it makes sense to use this function module. I think we have not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have some of the function modules. We do have examples, but some we have to just to check how to apply them.
Yeah. So what might also be good, perhaps you can provide Anya or me with those function modules, especially those here in CMX Tools FM, where you have problems in understanding how to set the parameters and what the hell the purpose of these function modules are. So I received one mail from a colleague of you, and I'm still preparing, let's say, the answer. She asked me. I think
that is a nice idea for next time, maybe, so that we just go through all these function modules and give some examples.
Okay.
And also bring up Vic is quite deep, digs quite deep into the let's say the coding knowledge. Peter, I know that you are also digging quite deep into it. The other colleagues here on the phone, what's your opinion about let's say ABAP coding next steps? Something that you will use, or will you say, okay, we are quite let's say pleased with the validation symbol and generation scope functionality?
No.
Okay, seems not the case.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Not from here.
I just have another question about PCO. Is it possible that we send you a mail to discuss about some feature? Because currently in our installation we have some problem of response time with SAP ODA, and as we don't have a MRI, we are looking around to see what we can do. So yeah,
so don't think that I get you completely. So you're using SAP ODA already, correct?
Yeah, we're using SAP ODA with our scales, and it's working fine, but we try to display a graph bar, and the graph bar is very slow, so we cannot use it in production environment. So we try to dig around on the network, on the improvement, and in our team that we choose an OPC server which is quite slow. So we try to see if we have to change the.
What technique do you use for the graph bar? Is that a Java applet or?
It's yeah, I think it's Java applet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all in JavaScript.
Yeah, I did. If you look at recording number 4, the session number 4, I presented something there where I also did that. So that was pretty fast. It was also with JavaScript and some graphic library, I think Ajax, and a third-party OPC client for making the communication. So that went fine. But I must say that that was just in the local network, so I don't know. Maybe you've got also network latency there. You need to check your performance where you lose the performance there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we could. Oops.
I would have a simple question, and it's about a generation. About a validation functions. If we have a dual validation and at a process order to generate the control recipe, and there's an error in the validation. We get the error and the control recipe isn't generated. But if I do the generation again, there will be the control recipe generated. How can I prevent this, or what can I do to not get a control recipe in this case?
Now you want to prevent that a control recipe is generated when this validation is not correct.
Right. We have a function to validate a characteristic or a parameter. And if there's an error in the validation, you get the message, okay, control recipe couldn't be generated. Okay.
And what is the behind that? So what are you checking really there? Because it's something you have in the order somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we trying to find the material in the storage, and checking if there is and where is the material in the storage, in which place, and get the storage location.
Okay.
And sometimes, and if there is no material in the storage, we get the error, okay, material not found.
I must say I'm a little bit skeptical about your use case here, because I mean you probably should more use another user exit in the order somehow, which prevents something like the release or so, to capture that beforehand.
No, this is captured before, and normally, but we have a second. A deeper check at a storage, and normally it's prevented to get released the order. But in some tests, that's why it's not a really problem. It's just a low level problem. In some tests we get no release for the order, but we get a control recipe when we generated it a second time.
Oh. What do you think?
So my thoughts were to reset the generation after the first time, and then the validation function is called again. But after the first generation of the XStep tree, the validation function isn't called again, because the generation is already done, and then the whole XStep is missing in the XStep tree. So what could we do?
So I think I'm a little bit surprised, but I think it's also something that you said. First, when we're trying to present the control recipe, then at least the validation, the dynamic function calls are executed. We get the result, okay. Validation failed. We get the error message. Sending us the control recipe is stopped. The next time you try to send,
not to send, to generate.
Sorry, to generate. The next time you try to generate, okay, then it's generate, you get an error, but you, okay.
The first generation, at the first generation, I get an error, so that there's error in the validation, and there is no control recipe generated. And if I press the button to generate a second time, then the generation passes, and I get a control recipe, because the generation, the validation function isn't called again, because generation has already been done at the first time.
I have a little bit of doubt whether this is really something you should do.
Okay.
Really to use some event on document generated to prevent or pass, let the control recipe pass, is I don't think.
No, it's not a document generated. It's a really validation function.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, but
like a generation.
But but there must be an event if when this function module is called.
No.
Sorry to jump in, but just for my curiosity, if you are saying you release your order anyway while you have missing parts, is this really how you run your business? You release orders where you do not have the material, or at least not sufficient?
No, we have the materials, but they are at the wrong place.
Okay.
They are at a. We need they are in the storage, but not in the storage that we need it.
I mean, I go with what Arne is saying. So usually, if you do, for instance, storage location or batch determination or both in the process order upfront, and you check your material availability, you have all that information which is required for your afterwards processes directly in the order, and this is the way how it should be.
Yeah, the material is available. It's there, but we have some functions in the PI sheet to trigger some automatic storages to bring the material, but we have but the material must have to be in this storage. So we have an extra check if it is in this storage or in another storage, and this is done at this position or at this location.
But it is a validation function for some fields, and that is triggered when you create a control recipe. Is that correct?
It's a normal validation. Which is validating the parameter.
Okay, and if this validation fails, so what are you expecting it again to do?
To prevent the control recipe from generated.
But again, that's what I said. I don't think that this is something this is meant to be used for. You know.
Okay.
This whole validation function is really meant to be used when you work on a PI sheet, really, because then you've got a user there who can react on, validation fails, he gets a message and all these things. Uwe, I really didn't know that this validation function would be executed on generation. Are you aware of that?
It's a validation symbol for the parameter. It's always called as a generation.
Valuation, not validation.
Valuation. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay. Now it becomes much more clear. Oh, it's a valuation symbol.
Sorry, my fault.
I was completely on another track.
And
this evaluation fails, and the parameter is not evaluated, and
right. And the second time, it isn't evaluated too, but the generation goes through.
And it's a mandatory value, or I mean, if in principle, if you've got a parameter and it has a valuation function, and it's not doing it correct, I think it's just raising a warning.
Yeah.
Something has not been evaluated correctly. Yeah? And
at the first time, but at the second time, the function isn't called again because I have checked it because the generation is already done. If I reset the generation at the XSteps, then it's called again. But I can't reset the generation automatically after error or warning.
Yeah, but probably, yeah. I mean, probably you should really make sure that what you need, you know, for this generation of the control recipe is in place in the first place. Yeah. So when you start to release and create the control recipe, as Pascal, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a simple solution would be that you maintain at least one storage location in the material master. If this storage location would be afterwards the right one, you never know, but at least something would be there, and your XStep would be generated in a proper way.
Yeah, but I think it's a general problem. If there any valuation goes wrong in the old process instruction world, it couldn't be generated. Every time you try to generate it, it stops the generation and prevents the control recipe to get generated.
Okay, so maybe it's something which should be addressed as an OSS message, that this should not, in this case, it should not be generated. Yeah? So.
Okay.
Uwe, what is your take on that?
I'm also afraid that doesn't be correct system behavior. So I'm just thinking about why the next time you press this button, the system got the impression that it's at least not validated, or that the variation symbol got the value. Otherwise, it won't execute this. But I would also recommend to open OSS message and provide the colleagues with an example so they can check it.
Okay.
It seems not. Otherwise, if let's say we have errors during symbol validation, you will at least, if you try to set the control recipe, get problems. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, thanks.
That was interesting, yes. Right. Okay, so I think we're way over time now, so we should really come